Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Faithwalk 101. We are so glad that you could join us. Oh, we're talking about boundaries. We need boundaries, restrictions, rules. We need things to protect us, to protect the heart. You know, if you go back in the Old Testament, uh, when we see a revival taking place, you know what the kings of the nation did? They protected their borders. They built walls and towers and gates to keep out the enemy, to screen those things that's coming in. Boundaries are a good thing. You know, from the very start, if we go back to Genesis, in Genesis chapter 2, verse 15 through 19, God places man in the garden. We've heard this story many times, to cultivate it, to be a steward of the land. And he told him, every tree in this garden you can eat of except this one. Boundaries, rules, restrictions. There's always been that for our protection. And so he says you can eat of every tree except this one tree of knowledge and good and evil. Knowledge and evil. Good and evil. He said you cannot eat of that tree. For some reason, we're living in a world where we just think we got a right to do any and everything to any and everybody. We feel like that's our right. But we must have boundaries, my friend. And this is so important for you to have boundaries in your life. Because if you don't, people will cross those boundaries. They will come into your life and penetrate into your heart. And they will create all sorts of issues. Boundaries. We must have them. Paul writes in Ephesians 6 and chapter 14, he says, put on the breastplate of righteousness. Why? What's this breastplate? What is it? It is to protect the heart. Boundaries, my friends. We must have boundaries. We need boundaries for balance. If you don't have boundaries, you're going to be out of balance. And a lot of people are living their lives out of balance because they don't have boundaries. It's okay. It's okay to tell people no. The gospel, the word of God, is our reality. And regardless of what the world says, how they change the rules and do all these things, the word of God is our reality. Because the world is constantly changing the rules, so try to erase boundaries to do everything they want to do. But you know what? There's a lot of things that people do that makes them feel good, but is destroying their life. Boundaries. We need boundaries for balance. In Proverbs chapter 25 and verse 28, Solomon writes, the lack of self-control and restraint is like a city without walls. We must have self-control and restraint. In other words, there has to be a time where we say no. Yes, there will be people that will come to us that we love. We must have those boundaries. It is so important. You cannot let people of this world make you feel guilty about things that you should not feel guilty about. There are some things that we just must say no to. And I love what Paul writes in Ephesians about putting on the whole armor. We must protect our heart because out of the heart comes the issues of life. Things that we speak, a lot of things that we say are coming from the heart. We got to guard it. We got to protect it. We must have balance and we must have boundaries. Boundaries are there for our own good. This fence, I don't know what's in that building behind me, but for some reason, they put a fence around it and put a lock on it so that you cannot freely go to it. Now, I don't know what's in there, but they have put a boundary around it for that reason, so that no one can freely go and do what they want inside of there. Of course, you can climb the fence. You can tear the fence down. You can destroy it. But the fence is up there for a reason. And we must have boundaries in our life. We must do it, my friends, for balance. And the one thing that Satan wants to do with us, he wants to get us off balance. And where are people that we do that, don't we? We go from one extreme to another. That's just how we do. Boundaries. Did I say that once? Did I say that twice? I said it over and over and over again. You must have boundaries. It's okay to say no. It is. Well, they might not like me. They won't be my friend anymore. If your life is based on the Word of God, then you want to seek Him first. What good does it to please man, to get accolades and be friends with someone who is rebellious against God? You know, what I found in this life is there's going to come a time that friends are going to forsake you. Family, parents, maybe even spouses. There's going to be a time that all you have is Jesus. That's it. And we want to hang on to Him. We want to follow the Word of God and let the Spirit of God lead us. That is where the peace that passes all understanding comes from, is when we have this relationship with Him. One with God is a majority. Oh, my friends, boundaries is so important. Don't let anyone talk you into doing wrong because they want to manipulate you. You got to have those boundaries. You got to put that fence around. You got to draw that line in the sand. And you have to say, you know what? I don't care what you say. I am not going to do that. I'm not going to do it because God has said it's wrong. And you know what? If we were about mission, stand on mission, advancing the gospel, putting Jesus Christ first, giving Him glory in everything we do, we wouldn't have a lot of problems we do. A lot of times, the reason why we compromise and the reason why we have no boundaries is because we have forsaken the mission. Continue to join us on Faithwalk 101. We're going to talk more about these boundaries. Thank you, my friends.